Life, the program you dare not miss. Brought to you by Pace, the astonishing new No Lotion Home Permanent. The end papers contain the waving ingredients. And by Crest, the toothpaste that means far less decay.
Look, Mom, no cavities.
And now, here he is, Mr. This Is Your Life himself, Ralph Edwards.
Thank you, Bob Warren. Hello, everybody. I'm standing in the hallway of the NBC office building here in Burbank, California. And beyond these doors is the outer lobby of the building, where our subject to be for tonight is waiting with two friends for an appointed interview with one of NBC's executives. At least that's what he thinks right now. So if you'll follow me into the lobby, we'll see what his reaction is when he finds out the true purpose of his visit to Los Angeles and to NBC. Come along, please. Hi, Mr. Rademacher.
That's right.
Mayor Rademacher, how do you do? I thought you were Ed Rademacher of Calipatria. Come on in here, gang. Calipatria, California, is that right?
That's right, Ralph, and it certainly is a pleasure meeting you, and I'd like to have you meet Councilman Garrett of Calipatria.
Franklin Garrett,
How do you
that right?
Mr. Edwards?
Hello, Mr. Garrett.
And we'd like to have you meet one of our fine friends. He is the druggist in the city of Calipatria, Harry Momita.
Well, I'm glad to see you, Mr. Momita. How are you tonight?
Fine, thank you.
And I say that with great sincerity. You're a hard man to get away from your drugstore, but your two friends here managed it for us. If they hadn't, I wouldn't have been able to say to you, as I'm saying now, tonight, Takeo Harry Momita of Calipatria, California, this is your life.
No. I watch your program every week.
Well, that's what we heard, Mr. Momita. May I shake your hand?
Harry's my name, not
Thank you.
Mr. Momita.
I hope you call me Ralph, sir. What was the reason your two friends here gave you to get to Los Angeles and to NBC, Harry? How about that Rademacher and Garrett, huh? A councilman and a mayor telling fibs. What was the reason they gave?
Well, they said Mr. Jack Nelson, was it?
John Nelson, yes.
John Nelson and Don over there said wanted to see us.
They wanted
to confer with the article that Don was doing,
about your life, to do a story here of you on NBC. Well, they didn't fib too much. NBC is going to do the story of your life tonight, only it's not going to be dramatized, Harry, by actors. It's going to be for real, as it always is on This Is Your Life. Okay, Harry?
Fine, but
do you think we picked the right man, Mayor Rademacher?
You couldn't have picked a better one. And I can remember when I was on Iwo Jima and that flag was on top of Mount Surabati. But I think Harry has raised that flag a little bit higher.
Yes, sir. It wasn't easy for Harry, though, was it, Councilman Garrett?
No, it certainly was not. As an immigrant from Japan, Harry was faced with prejudice and intolerance most of his life. But he has faced it with understanding, and always he has faced it without bitterness.
Born in Hiroshima, Japan, Harry Momita, you adopted the United States as your country at the age of 8. But it was 45 years before the United States adopted you as her son.
That's right.
This is your life, and in a moment we'll retrace its paths with you. But right now, Mayor Rademacher and Councilman Garrett, will you please escort Harry Momita to our stage and to our chair of honor? I'll join you in just a second. You know, just 3 months ago, ladies and gentlemen, we introduced a product that's becoming an overwhelming success in stores all over the country. Watch and see why.
And that is the end of waving lotion forever. Pace is here. New Pace. Procter & Gamble's astonishing No Lotion Home Permanent. Ends lotion mess forever. In this envelope lies the secret. The permanent's in the papers. Yes, the end papers contain the waving ingredients. You do your Pace Permanent the usual way, except you don't use messy waving lotion. Plain, clear water releases the waving action. And because each paper contains just the right amount of waving ingredients, your Pace wave will be perfect. A lasting wave that leaves your hair so wonderfully soft and natural looking, and you so beautiful. Get Pace, the astonishing new No Lotion Permanent.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, here they are, Ralph Edwards and tonight's honored guest, Harry Momita.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Takeo Harry Momita of Calipatria, California. You're going to meet a wonderful man here. You watch the program. You know where they sit. You say you watch every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
Now, before we talk about the past, let's chat about now. Where is Calipatria, the town where you have your drugstore, Harry?
Well, Calipatria is about 200 miles south of Los Angeles on the extreme lower end of Salton Sea and
Salton Sea.
Salton Sea.
How large a place
In
is
Imperial County.
Imperial County. How large a place is Calipatria?
The population is exactly, last census showed 2,463.
62 till you get back to town, is that?
That's right.
What claim to special distinction does Calipatria make, Harry?
Well, we have, besides being a very friendly town where every one of us are known to each other by our first names, ever since we moved down there, no one hardly called us Mr. Momita or Mrs. Momita. We're known affectionately as Helen and Harry. And besides that, we do have the distinction of being the lowest down incorporated city in the Western Hemisphere, 184 feet below sea level.
Oh, that's what you mean. That's Calipatria, the town where you now live, among friendly neighbors, as you say, and where your drugstore is a gathering place for friends and the hub of community activity. This is your life now, Harry Momita, but your childhood was quite different. In Japan, your family was of the samurai class, the lesser nobility, and up to your 8th birthday, you, Harry, received the traditional training of a Japanese boy. Public school, outings in places there where there were historical monuments, places of historical importance, games like baseball and judo, and Sunday attendance at the Buddhist temple combined with religious study. And then in 1909, your father, who had earlier come to America and settled on a farm in the Sacramento River Valley in California, sends for you and your mother. Must have been an exciting experience for a little boy.
Well,
journeying across
I
the
don't
Pacific.
know. I don't remember that because ever since we embarked at Kobe and passed, well, we must have stopped at Yokohama, but I was too sick to know about that.
You didn't know any English at the time you arrived in America, did you? But you're eager to learn, eager to prove yourself worthy of your adopted country. You attend public school in Ryde, California.
That's right.
And in the afternoons and on weekends, you help your dad with the farm work. What did you do there, Harry?
Yes, I helped Dad with a horse. They had what they call sled to haul the asparagus from the field to the washing house, which will be several hundred yards away.
And picking tree mushrooms, an important food staple among the Japanese people.
That was...
There's a picture of you now, don't deny.
that was not work, that was my pleasure.
Oh. The following year, in 1910, your father buys a boarding house in Sacramento, and you leave the farm.
I was in Lincoln Grammar School with you, Harry, and I was in your Japanese class.
A childhood classmate you haven't seen in 38 years, Harry. You remember her as Sumi Takai. She's now Mrs. Yoshio Karada of New York City. Here's Sumi.
You came from New York.
Yes.
I just had a letter from her.
Right. Well, you didn't know she was going to come out to visit. If you'd like to sit down, you can. She has a stool here. What did you mean when you said you and Harry went to Japanese school, Mrs. Terada?
Well, our parents didn't want us to forget the Japanese language, but they want us to learn about customs and tradition of Japan.
Yes.
So we went to public school during the day. Then in the afternoon, we went to Japanese school.
Years later, yes, years later, when you had children of your own, Harry, you didn't agree with this, though, did you? Years later?
No, I did not. I think my belief was borne out by what happened during the war, or at the beginning of the war, when the evacuation took place of all of us of Japanese ancestry, regardless of citizenship, regardless of law-abiding aliens. My opinion was that As long as we're in a foreign country, as the old saying goes, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Even in Japanese, there is a similar expression. May I speak in Japanese?
Yes, like that.
Go ni te go ni shitagau. Similar to literal translation. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. If this was our adopted country, if this was to be our home, we must do as Americans do.
So you succeeded so well that the day after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, your 4-year-old son expressed his anger about it to your drugstore customers. Do you want to tell us what he said?
Well, he said, "What happened, Milton? What's the matter?" Milton said, "Dirty chaps that bomb Pearl Harbor."
Back in Sacramento in 1918, Harry's father had to give up his boarding house and go back to farming, didn't he, Miss Tirada?
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, more and more, the Japanese people settled in the area. Resentment grew against them, and the boarding house fell, didn't it?
Yes.
Harry took a job as a domestic,
Yes.
I think. How much were you paid, Harry?
Oh, some jobs I got nothing except boarding room. Some jobs I got $1.50 a week.
As feeling against the Japanese mounts in 1919, you moved to Los Angeles, Harry, and we thank you, Mrs. Sumi Tirada of New York City. You'll get a chance to talk some more about your Sacramento days with Harry and some of your other classmates of 40 years ago who are in our audience up there tonight. Look up there, Harry. You see, they'll be at the party in your honor at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel where all your friends have been staying, Harry. Thank you. Again, working as a domestic, you attend Los Angeles High School. What did you do during the summer vacations, Harry?
Well, immediately, the day after the vacation, I always went up to Sacramento, good old Valley, and got a job picking fruits. I had to have some money besides $1.50 a week to clothe myself and save enough to for college education.
That's to study pharmacy, wasn't it? At the University of Southern California, graduating in 1924. 1927 finds you in Brawley, California, operating your own drugstore with your lovely new bride, Helen, by your side. And it's here in Brawley that your first child is born on November 6, 1928. And here she is now, Mrs. Hiroshi Kikawa, your daughter Louise of Gardena, California. Here's Louise. How many brothers and sisters do you have, Louise?
I have a sister, Elaine, and a younger brother, Milton.
Yes. Now, the Momita family moved around some of those earlier days, didn't it?
Yes. You see, in those days, it was difficult for a Japanese to operate a drugstore successfully. As social pressures increased and business fell off, Daddy'd have to find a new location and start over again.
But after years of struggle, your dad did manage to establish a pretty good business in El Centro, California, in the Imperial Valley.
Yes. But then in 1941, in the earthquake, a ton of bricks fell on the roof of Daddy's drugstore. He had no insurance, and with a loss of $3,000, he had to start over again.
And then, December 7th, 1941, and the trying years that would have overwhelmed a lesser man than you, Harry Momita. Thank you, Louise, Mrs. Hiroshi Kikawa. You see Dad later. How you faced the bitter war years, Harry, with courage and with loyalty to your adopted land, urging others of your race to accept ruin and heartbreak as their contribution to America's fight for freedom. We'll learn in just a moment. We all like to sing out with good news, especially when it's good news about us. And here's a little girl who's no exception.
Mom! Oh, Mom! Look, Mom, no cavities.
Oh, Barbara, that's wonderful. The dentist says no new cavities. I'm so glad we changed to Crest toothpaste.
Today, happy scenes like this are taking place thanks to Crest, the toothpaste that means fewer cavities for all the family. The proof? Tests were made at a leading university over a 4-year period. The most extensive toothpaste tests in history. Thousands of grown-ups and children took part, like young Bill Wells here. Half were asked to brush with ordinary toothpaste, half with Crest. The results? Thousands of x-rays and dental examinations proved Crest cut cavities almost in half compared with ordinary toothpaste. Think how Crest can reduce decay for your family. With Crest, you too may hear.
Oh, Mom! Look, Mom, no cavities.
Back to This Is Your Life, Takeo Harry Momita of Calipatria, California. Native of Japan, loyal American. fateful Sunday night of December 7th, 1941, Harry, you lie sleepless in your bed, wrestling with a greater problem than you've ever had to face before. What were you thinking, Harry?
Actually, I did not get to bed there, Ralph. I had the fire going in my fireplace in the living room, and I just sat. With a heavy heart, I just could not go to sleep. I had to think a little more deeply than most of others. So I came up with the idea that here, today, we are faced with a very definite answer to this problem of whether we are to be all American or we are to remain half American, half Japanese.
And your thoughts are crystallized in a declaration of loyalty, which you send to then Governor Olson of California,
yes,
and to Washington, D.C. You personally solicit signatures among the Japanese in the Imperial Valley. How many of them signed it, Harry?
100...
almost 95%, wasn't it?
Yes, almost 95%. The exception being, I remember one old couple that said, no.
Just don't bring any names or anything like that, because
they said their homes in Japan, their kids are there, we're 65, 7 years old, we want to go back to Japan.
Yes.
That's a typical example that those that refuse, others also.
May I read the proclamation that you had signed at that time by these 95%? We will faithfully do our part by pledging our material and physical sacrifice as any good, patriotic native citizen.
Daddy impressed it on us that this sacrifice was our contribution to the American war effort.
Your second daughter, Harry, Mrs. Sam Morinaga of Long Beach, California. Here is Elaine. Your first sacrifice came with the order that all Japanese on the West Coast were to be moved to relocation camps, didn't it, Elaine?
Yes, and Daddy was so busy spending so much of his time arranging for other people, for the storage of their belongings and the sale of their properties that he didn't get to sell his drugstore until after we were already in camp in Poston, Arizona.
You had an inventory of $9,000, and you got $1,100 for it. How did your family get along at the relocation camp, Elaine?
Well, I was so young, I really didn't know the difference, except that I know that the food wasn't very good. Of course, things improved as we cultivated the land and all, and were able to grow our own gardens.
Daddy worked in the evacuee property division, didn't he? Continuing to help the other evacuees straighten out their tangled personal property problems. You were paid $19 a month, Harry. These were war years. Hatred for the enemy could lead to hysteria. Absolute national security had to be the watchword.
Harry knew this better than any of us and always urged us to accept every sacrifice as our part in the American war effort.
One of your neighbors at Camp Poston, Harry, now general manager of the Southern California Flower Market from Los Angeles. Here is Frank Kuwahara. You were in charge of making camouflage nets at the camp, weren't you, Mr. Kuwahara?
Yes, Ralph. And at the start, we had a serious crisis. The workers were under the impression that they were to receive going salaries for their work of that sort. However, when they found out that they were to receive only $16 a month, many of the workers rebelled.
What happened then?
Well, Harry came to our rescue, and he convinced the workers that they should do their work as a proof of their loyalty to the American cause.
Thank you, Frank Kuwahara, and thank you, Elaine, Mrs. Sam Morinaga. With the war at an end, you, Harry, and your wife, Helen, and your family returned to El Centro, California. There's some in the Imperial Valley who post signs, "No Japanese wanted." But El Centro is home to you and yours, and you're happy there.
Harry's children went to El Centro High School, and I can still see him cheering the teams at the football, basketball, and baseball games.
I don't have to tell you that that's your good friend, the superintendent of schools of El Centro, Mr. H.S. Packwood. Harry apparently entered right into the spirit of the community, Mr. Packwood.
That's right, Ralph. He seemed to know every family in El Centro. And when the schools had problems with any of the minority group children, I'd go down to Harry's drugstore, and he would give me sound advice. You see, He wanted every youngster to stay in school and receive as much education as possible.
What about Harry's children, Mr. Packwood?
Well, with parents like Helen and Harry Momita, they were bound to be good students.
Oh, no.
Well, that's right. They not only excelled in scholastic work, but they participated in a wide variety of extracurricular activities. In fact, Elaine won the Kiwanis Achievement Award. And Harry, we were very sorry to see you leave El Centro, but we're pleased at how well you're doing in Calipatria.
Thank you, Sam Packwood, Superintendent of Schools, El Centro, California. Here in 1954, things are going well for you in Calipatria. The folks drop in at your drugstore for sundries and prescriptions. They enjoy chatting as Helen serves them coffee. Your silver wedding anniversary is past, and your two daughters are married now and have homes of their own. You're the only Japanese family in Calipatria, and it's a proud day for you and Helen when Milton is elected student body president in his senior year in high school. Here's that young son of yours, Milton Momita.
Well, all of us were proud when Dad received his citizenship papers in 1955, thus realizing his dream of 45 years.
Well, now you're studying pharmacy at USC, aren't you, Milton?
Yes, sir. I'm sort of following his footsteps.
I bet you are. And just last week, you were elected president of the sophomore class in the College of Pharmacy. Your dream of citizenship has been realized, Harry, and surrounded by a happy family, friends, and neighbors, you face the future with the confidence of the true American you are. But you, of all men, know that fate can be cruel as well as kind. We'll continue your story in just a moment, Harry Momita. You know, in this changing world, we like to know there are things we can really trust. And here's something we can always count on, the purity of Ivory soap.
Belinda's bedtime. And my, a girl has so much to do before she goes to bed. You know how it is. Hang up your clothes. Pin up your hair. Now, wash your face with Ivory, naturally, pure, mild Ivory soap. Belinda loves it. So will you. Ivory has such a gentle touch, gentle enough for a baby's skin. Isn't that the mildness you want for yours? Start cleansing your skin with Ivory this very night. Use it regularly. Soon your complexion will have new radiance, a clearer, younger look. Like Belinda, you'll have that Ivory look. And it's the dreamiest look in the world. Your skin never outgrows Ivory.
Ivory soap reminds you that this is National Cotton Week. Time to look in on the new cotton fashions in your neighborhood shops.
Well, Harry Momita, let's look out of the present for a moment now and back to October 1957. Your two daughters are married and living in Los Angeles. Your son Milton is in school at USC. As you and Helen are driving to Los Angeles to see your children, a car lurches out in front of you. There's a head-on collision. You are seriously injured, Harry, but Helen dies in that crash. In this emergency, your neighbors and friends rally to your side, right, Mr. Garrett?
We needed that drugstore in Calipatria, and most of all, we hated to see Harry lose out on any business. So we opened up shop for him while he was in the hospital. And we even secured the services of a druggist from nearby Brawley for 3 hours a day in order to fill prescriptions.
And the ladies of the town pitched in, too, like your good friend, Mrs. Charles Sirus. Here's Beth, Harry, right here. Beth Sirus. What did you women do, Mrs. Sirus?
Well, we were friends of Helen's, and we knew that all the townspeople gathered at Harry's drugstore in the morning for their coffee. So we sort of took over that department and kept the coffee hot and waited on the customers.
Sure.
And dusted and cleaned and tried to keep the business going as usual.
Thank you, Ms. Sirus. We know that your husband was killed in the Pacific in the second month of the war, and your son is now serving with the United States Air Force in Japan. For 2 full weeks while you're mending, Harry, your neighbors run your store for you, and for Helen's funeral, the townspeople contribute nearly $500 for flowers. Mayor Rademacher, come out here and tell us, will you, what did Harry do with the money?
When we brought Harry the money, he looked at me and he said, "Sure, Helen always did love flowers. But he said, for years we've dreamt of a flagpole 184 feet high to fly above Calipatria. And he thought Helen would want us to build that flagpole with that money. And on behalf of himself, he added another $500 from his own meager savings to construct the tallest flagpole.
Others have joined in since this start, including Vice President Richard Nixon, who sent this flag that once flew over the capital of the United States. And the Pacific Southwest Pipe Company in Los Angeles has offered to build this flagpole at cost. Well, we want to see this flag waving above sea level, too. You won't have to look at that barometer anymore, Harry, wondering when the rest of the money's coming in, because here in Helen's name is a check from Ivory Soap for $1,000, which we understand is enough to complete this patriotic project. A flagpole in Calipatria dedicated to good neighborliness. When this flagpole's completed, we know you'll want to have a record of the dedication ceremonies on film with this Bell & Howell 16mm movie camera, and to show it on, this Bell & Howell sound projector, together with a film of tonight's program. Marshall Jewelers of New York have sent you these gold cufflinks, tie bar, money clip. You're a regular viewer of This Is Your Life, Harry, but your TV set doesn't always respond. Well, this one will. The beautiful RCA Anderson Mark Series color television set, ready to bring you all the big shows in living color, pioneered and developed by RCA. Finally, Harry, we know that as president of the Imperial Valley Pharmaceutical Association and of the Imperial County Japanese American Citizens League, along with your work with the Chamber of Commerce and the Lions, you have to get around a good deal. Your car's far from new, not always dependable. Well, Ivory's gotten in touch with the Edsel division of the Ford Motor Company, and they want to see you carry on your fine work. So look over there. It's a brand new 1958 Edsel Corsair four-door sedan. It's all yours, and it'll take you wherever you want to go safely and with power to spare, and it's styled for 1958. Just push a button on the steering wheel, and away you go. How about that, Harry? And look who's piling out of the Edsel of yours, Harry. Your two granddaughters, Janice, age 6, and Pamela, age 4. Come on, kids. Kids, grandpappy. Here, ready. Granddaddy wants a big kiss from beautiful Pamela. This is your life, Harry Momita, father, neighbor, American. May the flag that will fly over Calipatria, California, be a symbol of true neighborliness and tolerance to the whole world. Good night, and God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Come on, honey.
Out-of-town guests have flown to Hollywood via TWA's luxurious Jetstream, featuring exclusive siesta sleeper seats. Fly the finest. Fly TWA Jetstream service. This Is Your Life has been presented by Procter & Gamble for Ivory Soap, advised by more doctors for baby skin and yours. 99 and 44/100% pure. It floats. And by Crest, the toothpaste that means far less decay.
Look, Mom, no cavities.
I want to tell you about a brand new record album. This one, ladies and gentlemen, it's Imperial's music from This Is Your Life by our own composer-conductor, Von Dexter. It's unique in that it gives you a musical portrait of some of your favorite principal subjects through the years. It's all instrumental, real listenable and danceable. Your favorite music store has them, so why don't you stop by and pick one up? That's music from This Is Your Life. Next week, ladies and gentlemen, a story that out-Algers Horatio Alger, a story of an American dream come true with a personality known to all of you. See you next week. Good night. Thank you.
This Is Your Life is a Ralph Edwards production, produced by Axel Gruenberg and directed by Richard Gottlieb. Be sure to watch Loretta Young on most of these same stations every Sunday night.